It is 9:31, and I will call the meeting to order. So I just have an echo. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge that we meet on the traditional land of Treaty 6 territory and acknowledge the diverse Indigenous peoples whose ancestors' footsteps have marked this territory for centuries, such as Cree, Dene, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, Nakota Iska, as well as Métis and Inuit, and now settlers from around the world. I'll begin with a roll call of the members. Councillor Elliott.
Good morning.
Councillor Morgan.
Good morning.
Councillor Salvador.
Good morning.
Councillor Stevenson.
Good morning.
Councillor Tang.
Good morning.
I also saw Mayor Knack online.
Good morning.
And Councillor Rutherford also joining us. And Councillor Wright.
Good morning.
And Councillor Principe.
Good morning.
I'll now call for nominations for the Chair of Utility Committee.
I'll nominate Councillor Tang.
Councillor Tang, do you accept the nomination?
Yes, I do.
Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, I declare nominations closed. Can I get a motion, please, to appoint Councillor Tang as Chair of Utility Committee?
So moved.
Thank you. Please vote.
I'm a yes.
I'm a yes as well.
Thank you, Councillor Elliott and Stevenson. We have all the votes. Okay. That is carried. Councillor Tang has been elected chair. I'll now transfer the chair to Councillor Tang to conduct the election for vice chair.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much to my committee members. Looking forward to serving on this riveting utility committee with all of you. So for now, I'm going to call for nomination for the vice chair of this committee.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Elliott.
And Councillor Elliott, do you accept the nomination?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Excellent. Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, I call nominations closed. Can I get a motion to appoint Councillor Elliott as vice chair of Utility Committee? Councillor Stevenson?
So moved.
Great. Please vote.
I'm a yes.
Thank you, Councillor Elliott. We have all the votes.
Please display the vote. And that has carried unanimously. Congratulations, Councillor Elliott. You're now the official vice chair. Moving forward, for declaration of pecuniary conflict of interest, does anyone here have any pecuniary or conflict of interest? Oh. Okay, seeing none, just switching mic over here. We'll move on to the adoption of agenda. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
So move.
Great. Any questions? If not, please vote.
I'm a yes.
Thank you, Councillor Elliott. We have all the votes.
Please display the vote. And that has been carried. We have no minutes to approve. I am not aware of any council protocol. So we'll select items to debate. There is only one. Would someone like to select that?
Sure. I'll select 7.1.
Excellent. Thank you, Councillor Salvador. We have no reports not selected for debate to vote on, and I don't believe we have any requests to speak, nor anything for time specific. I'm not aware of any inquiries, so just want to double check if there's any inquiries. Reports to be dealt with at a different meeting, none. Requests to reschedule meeting, none. Unfinished business, none, because we're the first committee of the term. We're going to move on to the public report 7.1 for EPCOR Water Services 2026 operating plan. And I also want to acknowledge, I did see Mr. Jim Beckett online, so he is available for questions too afterwards. Okay, I'll turn it over to the EPCOR team.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. So we're here to present our 2026 operating plan, and with me, who will do all the speaking, or most of it anyways, is Saqib Chaudhary, who's our Regulatory and Business Planning Director. Next to him is Craig Bonneville, who's our One Water Planning Director. And then next to Craig is Tina Yanitsky, who is Linear Asset Operations Director. So with that, I will turn it over to Saqib to get the ball rolling.
Good morning. Next slide, please. Good morning, Utility Committee. As Frank mentioned, my name is Saqib Chaudhary. I'm the Director of Regulatory and Business Planning for EPCOR Water Services, and we're here to present our 2026 operating plan. In this slide, we have summarized the purpose, scope, and importance of our annual operating plan. The operating plan is EPCOR Water Services' annual roadmap for delivering safe, reliable water and wastewater services while staying aligned with EPCOR's long-term strategy and the City Council-approved PBR plans. While it is a one-year plan, the plan balances the immediate requirements of operating critical infrastructure with medium and longer-term outcomes that drive system resilience, affordability, and customer trust. The plan translates strategy into action through a clear set of measurable objectives and initiatives. These span not only operational and capital delivery, but also customer outcomes, financial stewardship, internal processes, and internal capabilities such as workforce development, technology adoption, as well as increasing our organizational capacity. Importantly, the operating plan is designed to operate squarely within existing regulatory approvals. It provides discipline around priorities, ensuring alignment with approved funding envelopes, and positions EPCOR Water Services to execute effectively while preparing for the next consolidated PBR application. In short, this plan ensures we are delivering today while deliberately preparing for tomorrow. Next slide, please. This slide summarizes the foundational commitments that anchor our plan. A key outcome of this year's planning process was clearly defining EPCOR Water Services' foundational commitments. These represent areas where we will not compromise and where sustained high performance is required, regardless of competing pressures. First is employee and contractor health and safety. Safe work is essential to reliable service, and the plan reinforces ongoing efforts to strengthen safety culture, reduce risk, and ensure accountability across all operations. Public health and safety is equally fundamental. Providing safe drinking water and treating wastewater to a high standard are essential services, and the operating plan reinforces our responsibility to protect community health through disciplined operations and emergency preparedness. Environmental stewardship remains a core commitment. This includes reducing our environmental footprint, improving energy efficiency, and protecting the North Saskatchewan watershed while meeting all regulatory requirements. Finally, inclusion, respect, and belonging recognizes that an engaged and supported workforce are critical to long-term performance and resilience. Together, these commitments anchor every objective and initiative in the plan. Next slide, please. This slide summarizes what success looks like for EPCOR Water Services. The operating plan is structured around delivering balanced results across three connected focus areas: safe and reliable utility services, customer experience and value for money, and shareholder value. Safe and reliable services is the foundation. This includes maintaining and renewing infrastructure, strengthening resiliency, meeting regulatory requirements, and managing operational risk across the entire system. Customer experience and value for money recognize that customers expect both dependable service and responsible cost management. The plan emphasizes the reliability of providing water and wastewater services, responsive services, effective use of technology, and process improvements that support growth while managing affordability pressures. Shareholder value reflects our responsibility to the City of Edmonton. This includes strong financial stewardship, disciplined capital investment, and positive regulatory outcomes, ensuring that EPCOR Water Services remain sustainable over the long term. These focus areas are intentionally balanced. Strong operations support customer outcomes, customer trust supports regulatory confidence, and sound financial management enables continued reinvestment. And from there, I'd like to turn it over to my colleague Tina Yanitsky, who will highlight some key items from our 2026 plan.
Thanks, Sakib, and good morning. If you can go to the next slide, please. So our next few slides focus on some of the organizational refinements that EPCOR Water Services has made to continuously improve our focus on our One Water approach, in which operations are managed across the entire water cycle. As some of you may know, in 2023, EPCOR Water Services moved to a functional organizational structure where teams are organized by their function, such as engineering or project management, instead of by individual assets or systems, such as water distribution or water treatment. Over the past years, we've seen a number of benefits to this approach. First, a functional structure strengthens the One Water approach by encouraging system-wide collaboration. Instead of each team optimizing an individual plant or pipe network, integrated planning has become our default. This enables employees to work together across water services, making it easier to evaluate trade-offs, coordinate upgrades, and design solutions that consider river health, growth, climate resilience, customer service, and long-term system performance. Second, a functional structure reduces duplication, since shared systems, data, and processes help EPCOR avoid redundant investments. It also allows EPCOR Water Services to coordinate capital projects more efficiently through improved visibility, shared resources, and increased flexibility across portfolios. Third, a functional structure also improves resilience. Climate-driven events like major storms or heat waves don't just impact one plant or one part of our system. So having teams organized to respond as one system strengthens EPCOR's ability to manage emergencies and adapt to changing conditions. Next slide, please. So building on the success from this functionalization, EPCOR Water Services implemented an additional refinement in early 2025 to further align groups and activities related to linear assets. This includes our water distribution, our wastewater collection, and our stormwater management infrastructure. This refinement resulted in 4 groups being formed that are dedicated to linear asset construction, operations, maintenance, and support services. This new structure will recognize the unique characteristics of the water and wastewater assets and teams, while improving efficiency and consistency throughout the standardization of work practices, tools, and equipment, both within as well as across these teams. These changes continue to support improved performance related to employee health and safety, environmental protection, and the reliable service delivery for our customers. As part of this refinement, we also initiated work in 2025 on the Integrated Operations Center, or IOC, which will bring together our system and customer operations teams to provide integrated 24/7 monitoring for our water, wastewater, and stormwater management systems. Next slide, please. This IOC will leverage both existing and future technology to deliver proactive, customer-centric outcomes during day-to-day operations, as well as when unforeseen events occur. By bringing together data from EPCOR Water Services' advanced metering infrastructure, our field operations, customer calls, and operational technology and control systems, EPCOR Water Services can provide our system operators with an integrated and real-time view of all systems. This data will enhance issue identification and response times, minimizing, or in some cases, even proactively eliminating any impacts on our customers, the environment, and our asset health. In 2025, we also implemented and tested a new framework for an integrated tactical operations center, which will function during system events as part of the IOC, but span all linear asset teams, as well as teams such as planning, engineering, and project management. This new framework helps to enhance our coordinated response to system emergencies and weather-related events, ensuring the impact on all systems and customers are identified, prioritized, and mitigated as part of our response. We are currently constructing a new space at EPCOR Water Services Orem facility to accommodate the IOC, which will be completed at the end of 2026. During this time, we continue to review and refine key systems, data needs, and processes across our linear asset teams to enable more efficient and streamlined responses to customer requests, plant operations, and system events. Next slide, please. So as highlighted in the previous slide, one of the critical projects that is not only supporting our move to an integrated operations center, but is also helping us improve our customer response is our Advanced Metering Infrastructure Project, or AMI. This project was originally implemented in 2024 in response to meter reading equipment which was reaching the end of its life. We are now in our final stages of deployment with over 98% of the devices installed, which represented about 326,000 customers at the end of December. Not only does AMI technology ensure accurate monthly billing, but it provides both customers and EPCOR Water Services with critical data that can help improve customer service, system planning, and event response. For example, in March of 2025, EPCOR Water Services launched the first phase of its customer leak detection program using this AMI data, with approximately 100 customers notified manually every day about instances where their consumption spiked or where continuous consumption was observed, indicating a potential leak. At the end of 2025, automated notifications were put in place with up to 200 customers receiving notices daily, either through text, email, or phone, when their consumption patterns suggested a potential leak. These notifications also provide customers with a link to an EPCOR Water Services website that has information on how they can identify and resolve the source of a leak. Recently, we've expanded these notifications up to 400 customers a day. Without this AMI technology and these notifications, leaks could go unnoticed by customers for weeks or even months, resulting in excessive water consumption and high water bills. As such, feedback from customers has been positive, both in their calls to our customer care center to share their thanks with us, as well as a significant increase in visits to our webpage on leak detection. We've also been able to use AMI data to help investigate and resolve billing inquiries and concerns, assist us with investigation into system events, and better understand consumption patterns and demands for system planning and rate design. EPCOR Water Services is continuing to explore avenues through which customers can access their consumption data directly to make more timely decisions about how they use water. I'll now turn it over to Craig to talk more about some of our capital projects.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Tina. So EPCOR Water Services invests nearly $500 million annually in our water, wastewater, and stormwater management systems to ensure safe, reliable operations and meet our customers' needs. Oh, sorry, next slide, please. We continually optimize our infrastructure investment and update our plans to reflect emerging risks, operational needs, and customer requirements. Similar to previous years, investing in the reliability of our system continues to be our largest focus area. In 2025, Water Services completed construction on a number of key infrastructure projects, including the upgrade of major electrical equipment at the E.L. Smith Water Treatment Plant, the rehabilitation of major concrete conveyance channels at the Gold Bar Wastewater Treatment Plant, increasing reliability and operational flexibility in our water transmission system with a twinning project in the east side of the city, progress on our flood mitigation projects at the Rossdale and E.L. Smith Water Treatment Plants, and the construction of a new wastewater collection tunnel in the Duggan neighborhood to improve odor mitigation. Next slide, please. Our investment priorities in 2026 follow similar trends as in 2025, with over $450 million planned to be invested across our water, wastewater, and stormwater systems. The largest share of our investment continues to be on the reliability and life cycle asset replacements. The upcoming slides will review key capital investments in a number of priority focus areas. Of note on this figure on the slide, the capital investment to support growth accounts for approximately 35% of our spend. A large portion, though, of this investment is for activities to make our city more resilient to extreme weather and a changing climate. And I'll talk a little bit more about those projects in the coming slides. Next slide, please. Ensuring the reliability of our major electrical systems at our facilities, particularly at our treatment plants, is a strong focus. You may recall that in January 2024, we had a major electrical failure of a key piece of equipment at our E.L. Smith Water Treatment Plant, resulting in the implementation of demand management measures for customers for 5 days. A plan had already been in place to replace that infrastructure at the time of the failure, and that work is now complete and in service. E.L. Smith Water Treatment Plant is powered by 2 independent power feeder cables. However, they are supplied from the same electrical substation and follow similar routing. Work is underway to install a new completely independent electrical feed from a different substation, a project that's expected to be substantially complete in 2027. At Gold Bar, much of our medium voltage electrical equipment is nearing the end of its useful life and is exposed to harsh environments. We are rethinking our approach to our electrical systems at the plant to not only relocate electrical equipment to safer environments, but also optimizing the design to serve the plant today and into the future. Next slide, please. Investments in infrastructure across numerous categories, as noted earlier, contribute to having a more resilient system against extreme weather and a changing climate. A key project in this effort is to improve river, stormwater, and secondary flooding mitigation measures for Edmonton water treatment plants. The two key objectives are to reduce the likelihood of catastrophic damage and to resume potable water treatment as quickly as possible after the river flooding event. EPCOR was also successful at receiving $30 million in grant funding to help advance this project at the water treatment plants. The project scope at Rossdale is proceeding per baseline schedule, with the plant expected to be protected from flooding in the fall of 2027. The scope at Yale Smith Water Treatment Plant is expected to be complete by Q4 of this year. Design work has also started to offer similar levels of protection and resiliency at the Gold Bar Wastewater Treatment Plant. We also continue to implement actions from our Stormwater Integrated Resource Plan. Installation of dry ponds integrated into open spaces, parks, and recreational facilities are important urban flood mitigation and infrastructure. Kenilworth and Parkdale were substantially complete in 2024 and 25, respectively. Significant progress will be made on Lauderdale, Otwell, and Forest Heights dry ponds in 2026. The other key initiative out of SERP are low-impact developments, which is another type of green infrastructure, which helps slow the movement of stormwater before it hits the stormwater and combined systems. This helps prevent surcharging and backup of these pipes while also improving runoff quality. We plan to invest approximately $15 million in this initiative in this year alone. Next slide, please. Our focus on reliability programs is particularly prevalent in our water distribution and transmission system. We have over 4,500 kilometers of water mains in our system and take a risk-based approach to prioritize these investments. For the smaller local distribution mains, we have 24 projects identified based on asset condition and performance, like break history, for execution this year, mostly on our cast iron water mains. This program equates to approximately 4.7 kilometers of new water mains to be replaced. We will also be continuing and accelerating where possible our large transmission main inspection program. It's very important to have an understanding of the actual condition of these assets and to not solely rely on age and industry experience and patterns to determine our renewal and replacement strategies. These transmission mains form the backbone of our potable water supply system, and its reliability is and will be an area of focus. Next slide, please. Similar to our potable water distribution system, reliability of the sanitary sewer system is key to ensure service to our customers, safety, and protection of the environment. In many cases, rehabilitation of the sanitary system meets multiple objectives, supporting growth, minimizing stormwater infiltration, and ensuring reliable service. One example project is planned to occur in the Beaumaris neighborhood, where an aging lift station will be replaced with new sanitary sewers. This cost-effective solution that enhances the reliability of services in that area while minimizing long-term operational costs. Another key project will permanently redirect flows from poor condition assets under the CN rail yards off the Yellowhead Trail. The project involves constructing almost a kilometer of 1,200 diameter combined sewer close to 127th Ave to redirect flows to an existing, fully functional and underutilized crossing to ensure operational reliability. Additionally, we continue to invest in rehabilitation and lining of maintenance holes and local sewers to efficiently extend the life of these assets and reduce inflow and infiltration. Next slide, please. So this last project I just spoke to in the preceding slide also promotes a growing city by ensuring capacity is available for densification and redeveloping areas. We see the impacts of a rapidly growing system through our work in providing water and sewer services connections to new homes. We continue to work and support the city on such initiatives such as the Industrial Infill Action Plan and ensuring infrastructure and priority growth areas are ready to enable actions to increase housing. And I'll pass it back to Sakib to close out our presentation.
Thank you, Craig. And that brings us to the last slide in our presentation, which looks ahead at our next major regulatory milestone, EPCOR Water Services First Consolidated Water and Wastewater Services Rate Application. The application will cover the 2028 to 2031 period and is planned to be filed in November 2026. A consolidated rate application reflects our One Water approach and supports a more integrated, efficient regulatory framework. Work on this application is well underway. We are currently engaging with customers and stakeholders to confirm priorities, particularly around affordability, reliability, as well as service expectations. We're also reviewing performance measures to reflect both stakeholder input as well as operational realities. In parallel, EPCOR Water Services is completing an updated cost of service study, and we're also reviewing rate design options to ensure our rates are fair, reasonable, and easy for customers to understand. Throughout this process, we will continue to coordinate closely with City Administration as well as with Utility Committee. In summary, the 2026 operating plan ensures we remain focused on execution today while deliberately preparing a strong, well-supported application for the next PBR period. And that closes off our presentation, and we're happy to take questions from the committee.
Great, thank you very much, everyone. Let's see, Councillor Salvador, since you selected it, would you like to go first?
Sure, yeah, thank you so much for the presentation. I really enjoyed reading through this. Maybe just to start, I might work backwards, so I really appreciated the note around supporting Edmonton's growth with reliable utilities. The addition of the new webpage was also really appreciated. There's some really great resources on there around EPCOR's work to support infill and other forms of development. But my question is around just the pace and scale of growth that we've experienced over the last few years, particularly in redeveloping areas, as we have seen more homes added to existing communities. I'm wondering if there's anything that you can share just around, is this what we expected? Are there trends that we're paying particular attention to?
I think we work closely with the City of Edmonton to understand those growth trends and patterns so that we can ensure that we're not a barrier to that growth, certainly. I know that our crews who do a lot of the construction work to install those services on the water and sanitary side were certainly busy this past year. They were able to redeploy resources from other lower priority activities to be able to meet timelines for those connections. And as I think we do, obviously, with our infrastructure in those redeveloping areas, we tend to have adequate capacity, both on the water and sanitary side. There was only a handful of projects that we had to do in terms of renewals on the water system, and that was more driven by requirements on fire flow protection rather than capacity per se to service those new infill developments.
Got it. That's really helpful. Thank you so much for sharing that piece. I also had a question around the Integrated Operating Center, and I'm just trying to understand, what would that look like on the ground for customer experience? You mentioned improved response times. Can you just elaborate a little bit on what that would be like?
So as part of the Integrated Operating Center, it's bringing together all of the data that right now might be in different control rooms or across different systems and bringing it into a single control room. So we're able to see if we are having increased flows on a stormwater and it's not raining, we're able to automatically start looking at our water system to say, okay, do we have a leak that we don't know about? What's going on? Right now, sometimes that data is it's still monitored, but it might be monitored separately, so it's harder to pull that one story together. Having it all together, we're able to find those issues faster and then respond faster.
Okay, great. That's really exciting to hear. And then the last one I wanted to ask about, the slide on climate change adaptation. Great to see all of that work underway. Yeah, exciting to see dry ponds also going up. I know Kenilworth and Parkdale are looking great, but my question was around LIDs and any learnings or adaptations going forward around the installation of LIDs.
Yeah, I think we've been installing LIDs for a number of years here, and we also have a lot of knowledge and information from other municipalities and cities across Canada and North America on their experience with them. So through that learning, we've been able to adapt the design and so on. We've also been able to install flow monitoring into a number of LID installations, not in all of them, of course, but to understand how they perform under different rainfall events, as well as to understand their ability to remove contaminants and improve water quality as part of it. So we still feel that these are a really wise investment, and they're very effective against the alternative, which would be to increase size of pipes and that sort of thing. And we continue to work closely with the city again to ensure that we're coordinating the installation of these through neighborhood renewal and other road projects and so on, so that it's more seamless for residents in those areas that have to endure quite a lot of construction when their neighborhoods are going through that process. So
Sure. Great. Thank you so much.
okay.
Apologies, I should have gone to the utility advisor first after the presentation. And what's very exciting this year is that we're actually going to have two advisors. Ms. Bunting unfortunately cannot be with us today, but we do have Mr. Beckett online. Any commentary from you, Jim?
There's not a lot of regulatory content in this particular presentation. I am very pleased, though, to see that EPCOR has committed to providing a cost of service study and a rate design study as part of their next PBR.
Great. Yes, we all wait for that eagerly. Okay, thank you very much. And as a reminder, we can always direct questions to Mr. Advisor here as well. Councillor Stevenson.
Thank you very much for the presentation and for all the work that goes into it. I really appreciate the recognition of alignment with our industrial investment action plan. I was just wondering, it references a servicing strategy, and just wondering what that looks like. And I'm trying to remember the structure of the infill infrastructure, which I believe had some funding from the city to help pay for some of this work. Just wondering if you could talk me through what a servicing strategy looks like and what capital resources might be needed on the city side, if any.
I'll try to do my best to answer your question and let me know if I'm going a little bit astray. So yeah, we did partner with the city. As you know, the city received grants from the federal government for the infill infrastructure fund. So a lot of that funding went to electrical, stormwater, sanitary infrastructure, and a little bit to water infrastructure. So that helps supports growth in those targeted areas. And I know as part of our filing, we will also look at how we can ensure that our infrastructure is enabled for that growth as well. Spoke earlier to Councillor Salvador's question a little bit about the pace of development and those types of things. So with the experience in the last year or two, we have a better idea how we have to resource our workforce and plan our capital to enable that growth to happen in redeveloping areas.
Great. And so how are we translating that into the industrial investment action plan? And I ask because we don't have sort of the equivalent housing accelerator fund. So again, just trying to wrap my head around what is EPCOR capital planning and strategic investments you might make that align with our goals versus initiatives that the city may need to provide capital funding for delivered in partnership with EPCOR to support the industrial.
So on the industrial side, it's a bit of a more unique servicing challenge because they come in all shapes and sizes. So it's very hard to predict what their water, sanitary, electrical demands would be until the city actually has a customer, if you will, going in. So we are looking closely at the city. We have shared certain areas that are well serviced that would be great opportunities for that industrial infill, if you want to put it that way. But in certain cases, we have to wait for a potential customer to come to understand their servicing requirements before we can really say what they'll need exactly. But we're closely engaged with the city and other organizations to be up front as soon as possible so we can get a head start on planning if it does come to that.
Okay, and then typically, if let's say there's a very water intensive project moving forward, typically that applicant or that builder is responsible for the upgrades?
Generally speaking,
Okay.
yes. If the upgrade is driven by that developer, then they would have to pay for servicing of that site. But again, as my earlier point, on the water side in particular, we tend to have quite a bit of capacity. And as an example, with the newly announced Stollery Hospital, from the water sourcing perspective, we anticipate very minimal upgrades for even that size of facility in a, if you will, and greenfield site in the interior. So our system is fairly robust because it is looped and sized for fire flow, so we can tend to service those.
Okay, great. Great, thank you for that. This is one, and apologies if I'm missing. I know, actually, no, that one is fine. For smart metering, I know that we've had some conversations just about the fees for those who are opting out. Just want to confirm that there'll be ongoing work to really true up that cost and ensure that those customers who are opting out aren't being overcharged, that we're charging them as less as possible.
Yeah, so we'll continue to review those costs on an annual basis, really looking at how many customers there are, what services we need in order to maintain that manual meter read, and then what that has to correspond to from a monthly fee, with the goal that we're trying to make it as efficient and optimized as possible so that we can reduce that fee ongoing if we can.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Morgan.
Thanks. Sounds good. Thanks. Just had some questions about the dry ponds and floodplains there. I saw that there was work going on in Lauderdale, Forsyth, Otwell. How far behind are we on other sites? Like, where are we lacking?
So I think we are, so I guess I'll back up a little bit. A number of years ago, we presented a fairly comprehensive stormwater integrated resource plan, and the commitments under that plan were essential, or we gave options in that plan to execute it in 10, 20, 30 years, and we kind of, council advised to select the middle frame. So in terms of that broader comprehensive plan, it is a fairly long-term plan. So I think generally speaking, we're keeping up to what we thought was the appropriate pace for the whole suite of infrastructure upgrades, whether that's dry ponds, other green infrastructure, targeted sewer separation, and so on. If you have a question about a specific, perhaps dry pond project or in a specific community for flood mitigation, I may have to come back to you with that, but I'd say in general, we're happy with the progress on implementing our SERP strategy.
No, I think that's good. Cool. And just for my own information here too, and I hear Councillor Salvador and Councillor Stevenson both brought up questions around infill and stuff too, and so I was just kind of curious if we have numbers on how much we're spending in upgrades to current infrastructure to support infill development versus, or in older neighborhoods. Is that something?
Yeah, I wouldn't have a capital number off the top of my head. Really, the one key program we have targeted on infill is what I referred to earlier. It's called the Infill Fire Protection Program. And I think we only had 5 projects, and they tend to be in the hundreds of thousands to maybe $1 million range. Those are normally driven again by fire protection requirements. We work closely with the FRS to scope those, and they tend to be to move the water main from, say, a back alley to the front street and install hydrants to better protect say a condo where there is maybe a handful of single family homes there. But again, on the sanitary side, again, through efforts in reducing inflow and infiltration and just our continued decline in water consumption, generally speaking, our sanitary system do not need capacity upgrades when these infill projects happen through the city.
Would there be neighborhoods out there that are in need more of infrastructure upgrades than others when we're talking about infill?
Yeah, it's possible. I think largely we're looking at urban flood management as a key driver of some of those upgrades. So again, when we go into a neighborhood, often say we're doing a dry pond project, there's often complementary linear asset upgrades. It could be some separation if it's in a combined system where stormwater and sanitary sewage go into the same pipe. There may be some targeted separation of those two systems, some targeted upgrades there. That's generally, again, driven by flood mitigation. From the infill perspective, again, even in the very older parts of the city, the pipes way back when, 60, 70, 80 years ago, tended to be quite oversized. And so our focus with that infrastructure is more on rehabilitation and reliability type projects rather than increasing the capacity. We generally have the capacity within them. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Councillor Elliott?
Thank you. Just for my own information on this side, I don't want to make an assumption, so I'll ask this question. So for the climate action adaptation for the flooding, dry ponds, et cetera, is that automatically occurring with new developments? I'll stop there for the first question.
Yeah, so in new developing areas, the strategy these days is quite different than what happened in the past. So when we have separate storm and sanitary systems, and if you look at generally all the newly developed areas, they have wet stormwater management facilities that help control stormwater, whereas in the mature areas of the city, you'll notice there's no stormwater management facilities, so we have to manage that water in a different way. Traditionally is through the pipes, but as we found, those always don't suffice, so that's why we're targeting certain areas with LID and dry ponds to mitigate that stormwater.
Okay, thank you. And in regards to the smart water meters, is that the same thing as well as already being implemented with new homes and in conjunction with new businesses or infills?
Yeah, so our default for all new homes and businesses is an AMI meter. However, those customers too do have the option to opt out for any reason, and we would provide them with that non-AMI or non-standard meter for that monthly fee as well.
Okay, and thank you. And I don't know if this is, I can ask this. I'm curious about lead management. Can I ask about that here, this one? Okay. So I know you're replacing the old lead lines, and I just want to find out how significant is the old lead lines in our city, and two, how do you determine priority for those replacements?
Yeah, so if you will, I'll back up a few years. So to the prior to our previous water PBR filing, we presented a business case on our lead management strategy. There were two key items in it. One was the addition of an additive at the water treatment plants called orthophosphate, which essentially provides a protective layer in all the piping systems. And the other was to set a target for where we would proactively go in and fund the replacement of both the private and public side on lead lines, and that was at 25 ppb. So as part of this current PBR filing, we're evaluating, if you will, the next phase of that lead management strategy, whether we change that target or how we'll proactively go in and replace the service. We do provide communication materials and information to all residents where we've identified they have a lead service to see how they can reach out to us and how we can work with them.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Great. Before I take a turn, I think there's some mic issue, so we'll just try to turn off the mics when you're hearing the answer, and we'll just one mic at a time. Hopefully this is better, but folks online will let us know. I want to start a little bit higher level. So operational plan stems from vision and sort of strategic direction of the overall organization. And the overall organization for water services stems from the broader EPCOR corporate vision strategy, right? Correct? You can just
Yes, that would be correct.
Thank you. I am noticing a change in language. So I recall last term, I guess first of all, was there a recent refresh of the EPCOR overall and therefore water services vision and values?
Yeah, there is definitely a refresh going on, Councillor Tang, in terms of looking at our strategy at the EPCOR level in the context of what we're calling a balanced scorecard or balanced result. What you've seen here today is the water manifestation of that, where we realize in our strategic documents that we need to trade off things against themselves and get the right balanced answer between spending the right amount of money, ensuring their utilities are safe, making sure that customers see value, et cetera. So that's a little bit of a language shift that you're seeing in terms of like more talking about balanced results, balanced metrics, et cetera, if that helps.
Yeah, I appreciate the approach for balance. One of the things I did notice back in 2021, one of the values was, EPCOR is an environmental leader. And today I'm reading the operational plan and we use the language of environmental steward, which to me is quite different. Wondering if you can talk about that a little bit. I do see the slides around what are we doing in terms of adaptation, et cetera. But being a leader in something versus kind of doing what we have to do to protect the environment is different.
Yeah, I know that's a great question, and certainly a lot of the debates that we've had inside the company around where to position the environmental leadership, which we, despite what the words might pop up here and there, is very much in our thinking, and certainly in the water business, environmental leadership is a huge part of what we do. We consider a lot of the work that we're doing with climate adaptation, a lot of the investment we're doing as environmental leadership. Now, in terms of our refreshed values, what we've got in there is a value called integrity. We've simplified the framework. Like we want people to be able to identify with these things, and if they've got to remember 10 or 12 of these things, it's a little harder. But we have a key value called integrity, along with safety and people and results, et cetera. But in the integrity value is where we put environmental leadership, and it's not to downgrade it or not say that it's important. It's certainly important, but for us as a company to have integrity and to show integrity is to continue to do all the things we do that ensure environmental leadership. It's really just around slimming and streamlining the words. So you're quite correct that the words have changed a little bit, and we're always looking to streamline the message because this is about alignment of our workforce all the way down. And we want to make sure that everyone is clear in their head what we're trying to achieve. So balance, and certainly not looking to drop anything on the environmental side, if that helps.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm trying to get at, is that I don't want to minimize that. But I did notice the change, so I want to bring that up, and I'll continue to bring that up. I think you hear that from this side of the room. I have about a minute left. Maybe I'll just touch on this. I do see a lot of investment on safety and reliability. I think with the Calgary water main, they had their report released back in January. I thought they had another one coming. All the work around that obviously is part of the plan. Anything you added or you changed because of kind of what we're seeing in other jurisdictions in the province?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Obviously, that's getting a lot of airplay, and so when we digested, I guess, the issues from the Calgary event, the one thing that I think that struck us is that what they had there was what we call a very high consequence, fairly low probability event. At least when they're forward thinking, trying to anticipate what could happen. Obviously, if they knew that was going to happen as a high probability, they would have taken different steps. So very, very high consequence, very low probability. So for us, it's really important that we go back and look at our plans and our risk profile and say, do we have events that are low probability, but fairly high consequence, and do we need to do something different? So that review is ongoing, and will certainly reflect that thinking in our integrated PBR.
Sorry, I'm going to cut you off there, and I'll come back for a second round to moderate myself. Councillor Rutherford, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Tang. Just a couple questions that I have. One of the things that I didn't see in the report was an update on the work from the PBR related to getting vacant lots onboarded as customers to start paying utility rates. Can I get an update on that project and what will be worked on through 2025 and what will be worked on through 2026?
Sure, Councillor Rutherford. So we've initiated that work in 2025, and it will continue into 2026. In 2025, we identified a number of properties, including city-owned properties, and enrolled them in billing. And then the balance of 2025, we've added an additional approximately 300 properties into billing. and that primarily focuses on vacant lots, and we're also looking at parking lots as well. It's a very manual process in terms of identifying these parcels, and so what we're doing is we're looking at utilizing our GIS information system and to conduct some mapping so we can identify these properties. So the work will be ongoing in 2026 with an intention to provide an update in our 2028 to 2031 PBR application, which will be filed at the end of the year.
Perfect. So that was going to be my next question is, will we get an update on how adding these rate payers affects the overall utility rates? And then that sounds like it's coming at the end of the year.
Yes, we'll have an updated forecast for the number of parcels that we've identified and included in billing, which will reflect an adjustment to the overall rate for customers.
Perfect. And then my second question, another thing that I saw one odor mitigation project, but I was just wanting to get an update or an understanding of if that doesn't seem to be a priority going forward. It looks like EPCOR is more focusing on that risk management, which I completely understand. But there is definitely an area of the city, a quadrant of the city, if you will, that still has some major odor issues. So wanting to understand where that's at and what EPCOR will be doing around those things, if anything.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. I'll give that response a shot. So yeah, perhaps we didn't mention it specifically, but mitigation of odors in the collection system, as well as at Gold Bar, of course, continues to be a high priority for us. You'll note that one of the projects we completed that I spoke to was the Duggan Tunnel project, which was primarily driven by odor mitigation. So we still do encourage customers to let us know if they are detecting odors in their community, and we'll respond to that and troubleshoot it, and if required, do investments to mitigate it. But there's also a lot of operational type activities that we can perform without a large capital investment to mitigate those as well.
Okay, but I'm gonna be a little bit more blunt. I understand that there's a lot of odor. One of the areas still left to the city that has a lot of odors identified in the most recent map that I've seen includes Lauderdale, Calder, Kensington, etc. And what has been told to me is that it's a big capital expenditure due to the trunk line underneath CN Rail. Is there any capital investment going into that?
So I think the project that I mentioned earlier in my presentation, Councillor, about the trunk that we're abandoning under CN Trail and diverting those flows into another trunk that has spare capacity, I think is in the area that you're speaking to. I may have to follow up a little bit with some of the details on that, but a project like that certainly helps with the odor situation because, again, oversized trunks that don't have fast-moving sewage through them, if you will, are a significant source of odors. So anytime we're able to redirect flows into an overcapacity trunk to keep that sewage moving will help that situation. But that's the details of your question. We can certainly come back with a more detailed response on those exact areas.
And I guess maybe just even a quick yes or no. Will you have an updated map in the next PBR filing?
So we'll continue to use odor complaints as one of our internal PBR metrics. So we will continue to map those areas and those hotspots so that we can continue to mitigate them. Yes.
Sorry.
Thank
point
you.
Of order. I couldn't hear the response.
Oh, okay. Were you two sharing the same mic? Oh, okay. Let's try again.
Sorry, so we will be using odor complaints and hotspots in our next PBR as one of our internal measures so that we can continue to identify them and mitigate them.
Did you catch that, Councillor Rutherford? Did you catch that?
It was still choppy, but I did. Yeah, it was still choppy, but I did catch it. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Weird. We will be looking at our mic system after this meeting, or maybe Tina, if you don't mind switching seat. Okay.
Can we try again from this side? This
Yeah.
is a pretty important answer.
Yeah, okay, let's try again from a different mic.
Is this better?
It's coming in clear now.
Okay. So what I had said is that we are going to continue to use odor complaints and hotspots in our next PBR as an internal measure so that we can continue to identify and mitigate those issues.
Okay, great, thank you. Councillor Stevenson.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate the update on the odor work. That was, yeah, an important one in the area I serve as well. So appreciate that will be part of PBR and ongoing work there. Just finally, when there was reference to defining and advancing a customer experience project, again, I know we've had this conversation a few times, but just ensuring as part of that, are we looking only at ratepayers or also, again, development customers, other groups that interact with water services?
So we are looking at both, so our existing customers, and not just on a rate basis and affordability, but on the service we provide. When they're calling in, are they getting to the right spot quickly? Are they getting the answers they need? And that includes, of course, our developers as well.
Okay, and then also just sort of the provision of service, looking at the time for water shutoffs, for example, or connections. Those are other pieces that we form part of the framework?
Yes, so we already do have timelines and targets in place for new services. I think recently it's been brought to our attention that sometimes demolition requests are where there can be a struggle, especially if it's been ordered by the fire department. So we're actually meeting with them tomorrow to find out what that process looks like, and can we get some notice in advance so that we can make sure that we're not a barrier to it.
Great, thank you so much.
Great, Councillor Morgan.
Thanks. Getting feedback from constituents related to water pressure at the neighborhood level. How does and that particularly, I guess I'm curious about is outlying areas. How does that fit into this operational plan addressing some of those water pressure issues?
Yeah, so sometimes those water pressure areas are very site specific in terms of what the factors are. So we do have a servicing level, and there's obviously a lower range and an upper range for water pressures. It tends to be driven primarily for where a resident is at in terms of elevation in a certain pressure zone that we call it. In other words, a pressure area that has somewhat uniform areas. In developing areas, as the water system sort of builds out, there could be a time where certain customers maybe experience pressures at the lower end of that range, depending on where they're situated. So maybe on the very west side of the city that has generally slightly higher elevations than in the center, some of those customers may experience lower. There will be a trigger, if you will, for when the upgrade to the system is required to get those folks up to that within the good part of that servicing level.
I'm sorry, I left my mic on there. What is that trigger?
So again, it's based on that pressure range. The numbers off the top of my head, I believe, are between 280 and 500 or so kPa. So it is a fairly wide pressure range that customers may experience in a pressure zone. And then when we start to see customers come to hit that lower end of the range, that would trigger us to do an upgrade, whether that be through piping infrastructure or pumping, depending on the situation.
Like a pump station?
It could be a pump station, but more often than not, it's actually on the transmission side, so linear infrastructure. But again, depends a little bit on the situation. As the city continues to build out, especially in the west, southwest, and southeast portions, some of those locations will have future pump stations and even reservoirs installed as the growth builds out from there.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I can move that motion if you want. So, tell me the motion, sorry.
We were just moving the motion.
That's it.
There we go. So you just read out that.
Okay, sure, thanks. So yeah, we'll move a motion that the February 2nd, 2026 EPCOR Water Services Report, EXT 03337, be received for information.
Great, thank you so much. And I know we're moving towards kind of avoiding the language around receiving for information, so maybe just in the future we can work on just shaping that, like go forth with operational plan or something like that. I do have a couple questions left. Maybe, Frank, I just wanted to give you a chance to finish that thought. You're essentially saying, you know, what is happening in Calgary is low probability, but you've anticipated for that.
Well, it's what happened to them, they believed was low probability. And so we've got a different set of risks that fit in that category, and we just want to make sure through a more detailed review ahead of our integrated filing that we've looked at those cases. And in many cases, we may not change trajectory, but we definitely want to review those and just reassure ourselves that we're on the right track. So that was the interesting learning for us. I mean, amongst other things like water demand management, there's some interesting things they did that we have reflected also in some of our thinking. We had our own experience with E.L. Smith, as you know. There were some learnings there from us, but we watched them do water demand management over a much longer period of time. So there was definitely some learnings for us there. And we've exchanged some information with Calgary, and so we've modified some of our planning there. So those are the two, I'd say, the big ones for us. So if that helps.
I guess one of the things I was thinking about with the operation plan is contingency. Kind of, you know, recognizing that you're accounting for that, you'll be looking at a lot of those case studies. But like, do we typically have contingency? Is it kind of naturally embedded in what you've already presented?
Well, there's a fair bit of redundancy built into our systems already, because as utility systems, they tend to be built redundant. And yes, that is generally in our planning process. I don't know, Craig, if you wanted to maybe comment further on that.
Yeah, and another way to put redundancy on the potable water system, it's looping. So in other words, there tends to be more than one way to feed a certain customer or area. The unique aspect of that particular transmission main in Calgary was that it was a very long transmission main before it kind of branched out into the network. So that's a little bit different. We don't have such a large and lengthy kind of single point of failure pipe in our system. Our system's not risk-free, of course, and that's why we are, where possible, and I even mentioned it, accelerating monitoring programs and keeping a close eye on it. But there are some notable differences between the two situations.
Great, thank you so much. Appreciate that. With the integrated operating center, so the intent is to consolidate all your operation across the city into that one facility at Orem?
For the linear assets piece.
For the linear asset
not
piece.
the plants, but sorry,
Right.
Go ahead and ask, if you have a specific question, we're happy to answer it.
No, that was it. So we can still expect, I guess, regional or more local, some of the plants, but some of that data piece and the linear assets piece will be in one place. Okay. And then just on asset management, how often are inspections conducted? How is disposition completed? And when you bring new assets on board, do you look at both, the capital but also maintenance and operating? You're calculating all that cost together?
Yeah, so when we implement any new infrastructure, we certainly look at the life cycle costs, so not only the initial capital investment, but the ongoing operating and maintenance costs. In terms of inspection frequency and priority, again, it's a little bit specific on the type of infrastructure that we're looking at, its purpose and criticality in our system. So for example, what you're probably most interested in with your question are these large water transmission mains. Again, it's a little bit dependent on the risks we think they pose to our system if there were a failure. So we certainly are inspecting these. They tend to be over the course of a few years. So because of their importance to our system, as I mentioned, they're the backbone of our system, it's very difficult to take them out every year or months, that sort of thing, to do an inspection. There could be certain areas where we want to do continuous monitoring, of course, but for the most part, for our potable water system, it's intermittent inspections.
Okay, I just have one last question, so just some indulgence for going to a third round. There's a lot of emphasis around infill. obviously, in the plan. I'm wondering if you have any commentary on future growth areas and how are you supporting there?
Yeah, so we are participating in the Future Growth and Areas Initiative, so the south of 41st Ave primarily, that the city is leading. So they've engaged with consulting community to start to map out infrastructure, roads, and of course for us, pipes, our colleagues in electricity, the same thing. So we are engaged in the Future Growth Areas Initiative.
And then just want to check that's part of the operating plan for, like the planning of that, is that part of your plan for 2026?
So we certainly keep that in mind for our long-range plans. Okay. In terms of specific timing, I think those are still relatively well out in the future, and you probably won't see specific capital investments in this coming PBR for the FGAs. But obviously, yeah, we're engaged, and if timing changes, then we'll adapt our planning and make sure we have the infrastructure in place.
Awesome, thank you. So we have a motion on the table. Anyone to speak? Nope. So anyways, just want to, appreciate this. I really enjoyed it too, and particularly linking some of I think the broader strategic vision to like the nitty gritties and thinking about what's coming up. I think there's a lot to look forward to, as Mr. Beckett mentioned, the cost of service. And then, I know we're going to have a lot more milestone check-ins with this committee as the filing come forward late this year. Looking forward to all of that, and thank you for all the work. I'll turn it over to Councillor Morgan to close.
Okay, once again, I'll move that the February 2nd, 2026 EPCOR Water Services Report, EXT 03337, be received for information.
Oh, I just meant if you want to say any words before you want to close. No, all good.
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Okay, well then please vote.
I think we have all the votes. Mayor Knack, are you still with the committee? Presuming we'll just mark him away, so we have all the votes.
Please display the vote. And that's been carried. Thank you everyone for your interest and great discussion. Response to councillor inquiry, none. We don't have any private reports, no motions pending. Notices of motion and motions are without customary notice. Seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.